on it right away, didn't I?
Suddenly it doesn't seem as hot out here today. When I think about Grandpa Francis in the uniforms that these good men are wearing today to honor him, I'm honored to be here today as his great-granddaughter. We have many great-grandchildren here, great-great-grandchildren, and the Bell family, I know we are all honored to be here, to be a part of this today. I was asked to share a little bit of what we know about Francis with the family today through the efforts of people like P.J. Gossett, Betty Waters, Glenda Burgess, Sandy Garrison. We've learned a great deal about Francis's life, much more than you would think we would know about someone who lived so long ago. James Francis Bell was the fifth child of 7 children born to James B. Bell and Elizabeth Lourimore Bell. He was born November 18th, 1842. His brothers and sisters were Robert, John, Eliza Bell Tyler Martin, James, Henry, William J., and Nancy Ann Lourimore. Nancy Ann Bell Lourimore. Francis was only 19 years old when he enlisted in the First Alabama Cavalry. He was 5 foot, 11 3/4 inches tall. He had gray eyes, fair complexion, and auburn hair. Francis's brothers, Robert, 30, John, 28, and James, 17, served in the Union Army as well. Robert died at Andersonville Prison. Brothers John and James died as a result of disease. James at Decatur, Alabama, and John at Rome, Georgia. All died within 3 weeks of each other. Francis's brother Henry joined the Confederate Army in Choctaw County, Mississippi, along with some of his Lourimore cousins. James B., Francis's father, Eliza, his sister, and Robert, his brother, wrote letters to Henry, trying to convince him of the error of his ways in joining the Confederacy. Henry then turned these letters and his family over to Governor Moore as a traitor to the Confederacy. These letters are on file in the Alabama State Archives. Henry died at Chattanooga, Tennessee. Francis was the only child who served in the Civil War to survive. Francis's father, James B., was an outspoken Union supporter and was in danger from the rebels in Winston County. His sons, Francis and John, escorted their father to safety in Huntsville, Alabama. This is where Francis and John joined the First Alabama Cavalry. Francis was later transferred to the 1st Middle Tennessee Cavalry, and we have some dispute about the service. We believe that the 1st Middle Tennessee Cavalry actually became the 1st Alabama Cavalry because so many Alabama boys went to Tennessee to enroll. James B. was escorted to Huntsville, Alabama for safety reasons, and while he was in Tennessee, he was nursing his sick son, and whatever disease was there, James B. caught it and died within a week of being in Tennessee. He is buried in a cemetery close to that encampment. Glenda Burgess has been able to find out. It was soon after Francis's father's death that his younger brother James joined the Union Army. Francis spent much of his time in service sick. He would be in hospital from one time to another, but he spent a great deal of effort as soon as he was well to rejoin his beloved Union Army. After the war, Francis was a farmer, just as his father had been. His father had entered 2 land patents here in Winston County, one on present-day County Road 25, just over from us, just west of Double Springs, just past Mount Abram Church. Most of you know where that is. And the other land patent that James D. Francis's father entered was on Rocky Plains Road, just before Old Union Church, where we stand here today. Francis entered his land patent on May 21st, 1890 for 159.5 acres near this church. So he farmed just up the road here from where we stand today. Francis married Lucinda Manasco on March 26th of 1867. She is buried here next to him. An interesting point, Lucinda's father, David Manasco, led 41 men to enlist in the Union Army. Francis and Lucinda had 7 children. Emily, Sarah Elizabeth, who married Joe Gann. Joe is here, and here is Sarah. Mary Ann, who married William Henry Edwards. Eliza Hasseltine, who married Early Burns. Twin sister Martha Parentine, who married William P. Ingalls. And Rhodey A., who married Monroe Edwards. They lie right here in front of me. They had one son, James David, who married Melissa Tommy Edwards, who lies right here. And James David was widowed, and he remarried and married Reddy Jane Harris, who is Thurlow's mother and father. Francis filed for his military pension in April of 1894 and received $72 a month. Francis married Julia Barton in 1904, and on the green car over here there's a picture of Francis. There's a picture of Francis with his last wife, Julia. They had no children. Another interesting note about Julia, her family's experience was much the same as Francis's. 4 of her brothers fought for the Union as well, and one of them died at Anderson Prison also. Francis died September the 4th, 1925, at the age of 83 years. I've often been told that Grandpa Francis was blind at the time of his death. We do know, thanks to the efforts of P.J. Gossett, that at his death he owned 160 acres, valued at about $400. He owned his home place, his furniture and tools, all valued at about $791.65. Not much compared to today's standards, but they did all right. His widow Julia inherited all of this. Francis is buried here at Old Union, where he was one of the first 3 deacons. And we are honored to know that this church was named Old Union because Francis Bell, brother Francis Bell, was a Union soldier, a good citizen, and a faithful Christian. Francis's granddaughter, Carrie Ingledove Walker, shared memories with me of Grandpa Francis. He ran a little water grist mill until he wasn't physically able to do that anymore. Carrie and her brother would carry a sack of corn to Grandpa Francis's grist mill, and there was only a foot log across the stream, so Carrie couldn't cross it without a handrail or some help. So Grandpa Francis built one for her, and for a young child, having your grandpa do something for you specifically is really sticks in your memory. She remembered that he had a horse and a buggy and a big apple orchard. She said his last wife, Julia, cooked him wheat bread because he couldn't eat white bread. My father, Albert Thurlow Bell, did not know his grandfather Francis, but through public records, military records, and the efforts of these good people I mentioned earlier, we know all of what I've shared with you today. I thank them for their efforts on behalf of future generations of Bell's family. And today we honor Francis for the service he gave to our country as a Union soldier. And I know in my heart that his father, James B. Bell, would be proud of his son, not only for his Union service, but because he was a fine Christian and dedicated family man. I know that we are all proud today to be here as his family. Thank you.
Darlene, can I make one suggestion?
Yes, ma'am. Please, go ahead.
In the military record, just to get everything straight.
Okay.
I've got his record, and the only name he said he had was Francis Bell.
Okay.
Okay?
Here. There you go, darling. Look at this,
My son. His wife.